You text her and wait. Hours pass, no response. You tell yourself she's probably busy. Maybe she didn't see it. Maybe she'll reply later. But deep down, you feel it. Something's changed. She used to reply instantly. Now, a few words, short, dry, emotionless, and then nothing at all. You stare at the screen, wondering, should you text again? Should you double check if she's okay? Or should you just stop? And then a thought hits you. What happens if you stop texting first? Will she even notice? Or will she just move on, like you were never there? At first she doesn't notice. The world keeps moving, notifications keep popping up, and life goes on. But then, an empty space appears where your name used to be. That little moment of expectation, the one where she'd glance at her phone, already knowing you text, vanishes into nothingness. The absence lingers. It doesn't scream, it whispers. And whispers, my friend, are louder than words. She scrolls through old messages, unconsciously tapping on your name. The same chat that once felt endless now feels distant, hollow. Did he move on? Did I do something? Is he talking to someone else? The questions begin to form, quietly but persistently. And that's the moment she realizes she might have taken your attention for granted. See, attraction isn't just about presence, it's about absence. When someone who was once constant suddenly becomes a mystery, the mind reacts. It wants to solve the puzzle, and whether she liked you a little or not at all, the silence you left behind starts to speak louder than every message you ever sent. She told herself she didn't care, that you were just another guy, another name in her messages, easily replaceable, but now, she's not so sure. You were always predictable, always there when she wanted you to be, and that made it easy, too easy. But now, something's changed. The rhythm she was used to, the constant reassurance of your attention is gone, and the silence, it's starting to get to her. She tries to brush it off. Maybe you got busy, maybe you lost interest, maybe you found someone else. That last thought lingers longer than she wants it to, and suddenly the roles have shifted, because now she's the one checking her phone, now she's the one wondering, and the more she tries to ignore it, the louder it gets. Doubt is a powerful thing, and right now it's whispering in her ear, making her question what she thought she knew, and before she realizes it, she's thinking about you more than she ever intended to. She tells herself it doesn't matter, that she doesn't need your texts, your attention, your validation, but then why does it feel different this time? She's used to men chasing, used to the predictability of their words, the comfort of their presence, but you've done something unexpected, you've stepped away, and now she's the one left wondering. Her ego fights back. He should be the one texting first, he should be the one proving himself. But her emotions, they whisper something else. What if he's done waiting? What if he's moved on? What if you were wrong about him? She grabs her phone, scrolling through old messages, looking for a sign, a clue, anything to remind her that she's still in control. But deep down, she knows. The moment she starts overthinking, the moment she hesitates, she's already lost control. Because now, you're no longer just a guy in her messages, you're a question she doesn't have the answer to. And that's what keeps her awake at night. It started as a game, a simple test. Let's see if he'll text me first. But now, days have passed, and the silence is stretching longer than she expected. At first, she convinced herself she didn't care. He's probably just busy. But now, a tiny voice in the back of her mind whispers something she doesn't want to hear. Or maybe he's lost interest. She scrolls through her past conversations, replaying every message, analyzing every response. Did I say something wrong? Was I too distant? Too cold? For the first time, she starts questioning her own actions, and that's when it hits her. This isn't like the others. He's not chasing. He's not waiting on her reply. He's just gone. A strange feeling creeps in. Uncertainty. She doesn't like it. She's always been the one in control, the one with options, but suddenly she feels like she's the one being left behind. She locks her phone, tossing it onto the table, trying to shake the thought away, but the truth lingers, settling into her mind like an unwelcome guest. At first she thought nothing of it. He'll text me eventually, he always does. But now she's not so sure. It's been days, maybe a week. The usual good morning texts, gone. The funny little messages he used to send, absent. Her notifications feel empty, and for the first time, she wonders, did I push him too far? She replays their last conversation over and over, scanning for clues. Was he distant? Was there something in his tone? But no, everything seemed fine, until she started pulling away, until she made him feel like he wasn't important. And now she's the one staring at the screen, waiting, hoping, but the message never comes. She exhales, tossing the phone aside, rolling onto her back as frustration bubbles up inside her. This isn't how it's supposed to be. He was supposed to wait. He was supposed to try harder, but instead, he's the one who walked away. And that realization, it stings. She didn't expect this. She didn't expect to care. At first, it was a relief. No messages, no pressure, no obligations. But now, there's this emptiness, a quiet that lingers too long, a void where his words used to be. Her friends laugh, talk, carry on as if nothing's changed. But for her, something is missing. It's like a song playing in the background, but the melody feels off, incomplete. She tries to ignore it. She tells herself it doesn't matter. But then, why does she keep checking her phone? She thought she had control, that she could decide when and if to respond. But now, the dynamic has shifted. He's the one who disappeared. He's the one who stopped waiting. And that stings more than she'd like to admit. A part of her wants to text first, to break the silence. But another part, the part that's still holding on to pride, it stops her. Because what if he doesn't reply? It's funny, isn't it? How silence can be louder than words, how absence can feel heavier than presence. At first she thought it was a game, one she was winning. He was always the one to text first, always the one to chase, and she had the power, or at least she thought she did. But now there's no message waiting, no good morning text, no late night check-ins, just this empty, quiet space where he used to be. And for the first time she wonders, was she wrong? She picks up her phone, opens the chat, closes it, opens it again, that tiny green dot next to his name, gone. She tells herself it doesn't matter, but deep down, a part of her knows, she let something slip away. She thought he'd always be there, that no matter how many times she pulled away, he'd come back. But what happens when the one who always cared stops? And that's when it hits her. Maybe, just maybe, he was never the one chasing. Maybe she was the one being chased all along. There comes a moment when silence stops being just silence and starts becoming an answer. At first, she told herself it didn't matter, that he was just busy, that any second now he'd text, and yet the notification never came. She used to think she had all the control, that he would always be there, waiting, but now she's starting to see things differently. Maybe he didn't just stop texting. Maybe he finally saw his worth. Maybe he realized that his energy, his time, his presence shouldn't be given away so easily. And for the first time, she feels something unexpected. Respect. Not just for him, but for the way he chose himself. She sighs, locking her phone, but this time there's no frustration, no waiting, just acceptance, because deep down she knows this wasn't just about texts. This was about knowing when to walk away, and he walked away first. She never thought it would come to this. At first it was just a waiting game. He'd stop texting, and eventually he'd come back, right? That's how it always worked, but not this time. This time, he didn't chase. He didn't beg for attention. He didn't try to prove his worth. He just disappeared, and for the first time, she wasn't the one in control. She replays their conversations in her mind, the way he cared, the way he was always there, but now his silence speaks louder than words ever could, and she hates that it's working, because suddenly she's the one wondering, did she lose him, or did she push him away? Her fingers hover over the screen, tempted to type something, anything, but she stops herself, because deep down she knows, if he wanted to talk, he would. If he wanted to stay, he would have. And just like that, she finally understands. Sometimes the strongest move a man can make is walking away.